Strange sighting in Alaska has a lot of people scratching their heads this morning. Take a look. An Alaska Bureau of Land Management worker in Fairbanks was checking out the ice on Wednesday when he saw this. He recorded something moving up the river. Now, this video was posted to the Bureau's Facebook page. They admitted they're not sure exactly what it is. Then they added, "We're letting you be the judge."
Whoa.
And it's not something that has that ice on it?
Well, that's what I thought, but then look how it curves and it's all attached.
My first thought would be a sturgeon.
Yeah.
But sturgeons dwell at the bottom of lakes.
It looks like an alligator, which we know it isn't. They don't live
It does look like an alligator,
but it looks like
yeah.
a cold water alligator.
Weird.
That is really weird. Kind of a random aside, when I was very little, I used to live across the street from the Chena River in
You're kidding.
Fairbanks. Yeah.
Did you ever see one of those?
No. Nor would I want to.
We
That
assumed
is
you were going to be
weird.
the expert on that now.
He's like, that was my pet.
That is bizarre.
That is bizarre. Hey, what is up, guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. We have a lot of interesting news to talk about today. The first of which is this new piece of footage that is hitting the web of what some are calling the Loch Ness Monster, or maybe one of its relatives, that was seen in an icy river in Alaska. Now, as you just saw, this was featured on various news outlets, captured by an employee of the BLM Fairbanks District Office, who went down to this river and saw this strange, what looked like a creature floating, moving along through the river here, twisting, and it's very, very strange. Because the way this thing moves, it moves like an alligator or a crocodile. You kind of see it sort of swishing back and forth. Not like you would see with a log or something like that. And whatever this thing is, it looks like it has a tail to it, like it has a long body that's making these weird movements. So definitely wanted to show you guys this. Let me know what you think. Could this just be a log or multiple logs somehow connected together like this? But again, why does it look like it's swimming? Like you would see a crocodile or something like that. So, very, very strange. There have been legends and talk of sea monsters and things like that that have been seen all over the world. The Loch Ness Monster, of course, which in folklore is this aquatic being that supposedly inhabits Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. There have been other reports that have come out of a Russian Loch Ness Monster that is believed to dwell in a Siberian lake that apparently tore a fishing net, or multiple fishing nets. It's called the Lebinker Devil, that they've apparently, it's been seen in this remote Siberian lake. A guy by the name of Andrei Solovev claims that this monster broke his fishing nets and that he saw a dark creature swim out of the lake. You're seeing an image of that man here, and here is a possible sighting of this monster in, once again, one of these icy, freezing cold, minus 50 degree area. The lake is in the world's coldest region, in fact. As I've said before, over 90% of the waters on Earth are still uncharted. We don't know what's there, and there could be some truth to this, so we will follow up with any new updates to this story. Now, in other news, a large green fireball was seen flying over an airport in Nagata, Japan, which is also going viral. You're seeing that video here. Some are calling it a meteor. We have a couple different clips here you're seeing, giving us the best shot of this. You see how bright green this thing is glowing. Some people who have looked at the footage said that the object at one point changes directions slightly, which is something that a meteor cannot do. So as we play this over and over, you guys can just watch it and see if you see it changing direction as it's passing above this airport. This was featured on the local Japanese news stations. Another interesting development with this is that another UFO researcher by the name of Scott Waring, who operates the UFO Sightings Daily website, was looking at the footage and caught what he believes to be a saucer-type object coming out of the meteor, or what he is calling something else that is only mimicking a meteor. You're seeing an image from that here after the analysis done by Mr. Waring, where we definitely see what looks like a metallic saucer-shaped object exiting this glowing green light. Here is a more close-up view of this purported saucer. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. I will put the link to the news story down in the video description. Do you guys think this is a meteor? Could it possibly be space junk or something like that crashing back into the Earth's atmosphere? Or is this something else? The opinions on this are widespread. Now, while we're on the topic of, objects flying into Earth's atmosphere, I don't know if you guys knew or not, but an asteroid just passed quietly by our planet, very close, in fact. I mean, in terms of space, it was close. Sunday night, that was thankfully detected by a new asteroid tracking warning system being operated by NASA. And they were testing it, and they detected this asteroid that was heading for Earth. Detected by a computer program, no doubt, which is called Scout. And what it does is it sifts through telescope data to identify these near-Earth objects, and then it runs a quick calculation to determine whether it's going to pass at a safe distance or not. This new program, which was in its testing phase, allowed us to detect this object up to 5 days earlier than the past objects that we've detected, sometimes only hours from passing by or coming into contact, a direct collision with Earth. The object passed at a safe distance of about 310,000 miles from the planet, but the ramifications of having a program like this is going to give us a definite head start on future objects that are coming our way. And apparently this program, this computer program, is, according to NASA, finding at least 5 new asteroids every night that are coming near our planet. So it's definitely going to give us an edge. Space is a really big place. There's always objects flying past. Thankfully, we haven't been hit yet by anything large enough to do any damage, but it's about time that we get a warning system like this. And, not just a warning system for asteroids, but we've been needing new safety measures taken for our electronic infrastructure in the way of these large coronal mass ejections. These, huge explosions on the sun that could potentially wipe out all of the Earth's power grid, leaving us in the dark, sent back to the 1800s, and it would potentially take up to years before we would get those electronics restored. If you remember, President Obama released a new executive order reinforcing the need for such further warning systems and safety for our electrical grid. So, it is good news that the object passed safely, and hopefully they'll be putting this warning system to good use. Now, before we end today's video, actually, there's one other thing. There's a lot of news having to do with meteors and asteroids today. A new finding on the planet Mars has just come to light, where the Curiosity rover found this freaky metal meteorite, as some people are saying, on the surface. You're seeing an image of that here. According to a new Gizmodo article, and I'll put the link down in the video description, the rover is currently climbing the slopes of Mount Sharp on its way to the next exploration site, where earlier this week it stumbled upon this tiny metallic, what they're calling a meteorite, which has some very bizarre features to it. So using the ChemCam remote micro imager, Curiosity captured a detailed close-up of the object, which has been dubbed the Egg Rock. Researchers at Arizona State University suggested that the meteorite is made of nickel iron, while others are saying that it looks like some sort of strange alien artifact, or some sort of melted metal, left over from a nuclear war that happened on Mars millions of years ago, back when it was more like our planet. There's a lot of people, and there's growing evidence that Mars, there was something that happened, a worldwide cataclysm. However, when you look at the scarring on the Martian surface, it looks as if it was hit by some sort of very powerful direct energy weapon, which has left this scarring across the planet. And we found a lot of artifacts or pieces of what look like structures, buildings, even skeletal remains, skulls, and things of that nature on the surface. So, and now NASA and many scientists have said that it's basically a likelihood at this point that there was life on planet Mars at one time. So, you're seeing the object here. They've found meteors on Mars before, but this object is different. It has all these unique features to it. The surface is extremely smooth, looking as if someone, quote, buffed it down with a polishing kit. It also features several deep grooves within the surface, hinting at classic weather patterns, and possibly a time when the ball was molten hot. Here are some other images and angles here of the object with these arrows pointing to it. You can head over to the Curiosity rover webpage and look at the images for yourself. Let me know what you guys think. Now, before we end today's video, I wanted to talk about the purpose of this channel. Obviously, the main topic that we usually talk about is the alien phenomenon, UFO sightings, strangeness happening all over the world, and whether we are alone on this planet. Now, of course, the number of people believing and the rate at which channels like this have grown in the past years is phenomenal. People are definitely starting to open their eyes, but there's definitely still a large group of skeptics out there. Many people who just refuse to believe, period. And so I wanted to end today's video where we're not just going to take my word for it, but I want to talk to you guys about some other very famous people throughout history that have also firmly believed in the alien phenomenon. So I'm gonna go down a list here and read you some quotes by some of the most famous political people, military members, even presidents of the United States, and let you guys know what they had to say. So first, we'll start off with an easy one. Edgar Mitchell, who was an Apollo astronaut who walked on the moon. He has claimed that aliens exist and that their visits are being covered up by the United States government. And you can find a great bit of information from Mr. Mitchell online. Just Google his name. Speaking of astronauts, Mr. Gordon Cooper, who once wrote a letter addressed to the United Nations in 1978, asking the organization to set up a research program to study UFOs. It was in 1951 when the astronaut was driving an F-86 over Germany, experiencing his own UFO sighting when he spotted flying saucers. Former President Jimmy Carter, who was the U.S. president from 1976 to 1980, promised while on the campaign trail that he would make public all documents on UFOs if elected. He said, quote, "I don't laugh at people anymore when they say they've seen UFOs. I've seen one myself." Walter Cronkite, who is one of the most trusted reporters and anchormen in television's history, who in the 1950s was invited to a Pacific island with other reporters to observe an Air Force display of their new missile. As the missile launched, according to Cronkite, a flying object in the shape of a disc hovered in the sky. The UFO later fired a bluish beam towards the missile, but it also hit an Air Force security personnel and his dog. The security guard, the dog, and the missile froze in place after the beam hit them. The group of reporters who were in shock at the time were told by a colonel that the Air Force has been working on a new technology and wanted to test how people would react when they saw it in action. Mr. Cronkite and the other reporters were told never to report the incident. President Harry S. Truman once said, quote, "I can assure you that flying saucers, given that they exist, are not constructed by any power on Earth." President John F. Kennedy once said, and I quote, "The U.S. Air Force assures me that UFOs pose no threat to national security." J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the FBI from its inception in 1935 to 1972, said of a famous incident when flying saucers were allegedly fired at over Los Angeles, quote, "We must insist upon full access to the discs recovered. For instance, in the LA case, The Army grabbed it and would not let us have access to it for cursory examinations. Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter, the former director of the CIA, is quoted as saying, "Unknown objects are operating under intelligent control. It is imperative that we learn where UFOs come from and what their purpose is. I can tell you, behind the scenes, high-ranking military officers are soberly concerned about UFOs." Mikhail Gorbachev, the USSR's last head of state, once said, quote, "The phenomenon of UFOs does exist, and it must be treated seriously." Dr. Walter Riedel, the research director at the Nazi rocket research establishment in Germany, once said, and I quote, "I am completely convinced that UFOs have an out-of-world basis." And lastly, we have a quote from Air Chief Marshal Lord Dowding, who is the commander of RAF Fighter Command during the Battle of Britain, who said, and I quote, "I am convinced that these objects do exist and that they are not manufactured by any nation on Earth." So these are just a handful of quotes, testimonials, and experiences held by some of the most famous heads of state, government, and politics throughout history. There are many more, and of course we will go through more of these in another video, but if this research is new to you or if you're new to the channel, believe me, it's good to be a skeptic, but when it comes to this phenomenon, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many others who are much, much more important than I am, the UFO and alien phenomenon is without question valid and legitimate. So, thank you guys for watching today. Let me know what you guys think about everything we've talked about, and be sure to stick around, keep sending in your footage and stories. We've got some new UFO footage coming in our next video, and so we will see you back very, very soon. Alright, so thanks for watching, and stay safe.